gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the DR.Alieu program. Speaking to you or coming live to you today, Friday, the 8th of May, 2020, is your host and presenter, Prince Emil Kroma, on a very, very important subject matter, as usual. To help us to develop this program today, as I must say, is a continuation largely of what happened on this particular platform just barely days ago, in which the action of a young man rocked the nation, the Republic of Sierra Leone. And this young man happens to be none other but a young lawyer called Mr. Wurie. On that day, he was on his own and he had to defend a lot. Normally, we would say, for add beef to bone, we decide to bring another seasoned lawyer and doctor with a knowledge inside judicial business, legislative business. It's well known. And this person is none other than Mr. Lawyer L.M. Iscandri. Gentlemen, welcome to the program Then and Now.
Thank you.
Okay, we're just about for kickoff. Dr. Iscandri, I'm not sure whether you're either introduction day, but you must be picking me up now loud and clear. And if you are, sir, I just want to say welcome to this platform for the very first time. And without much ado, we need for takeoff straight away because we don't want to waste any more time. Like I say, the actions of a young man just a few days ago, in fact, the ink on the paper not even dry yet. Yet here we are again. Here we are again, for can't talk about this issue, but we say along this time, we bring another experienced expert now the particular area we want to talk about and even beyond and more. So I want to go to you, Lawyer Wurie, straight away, because just days ago, you were on this platform talking about some action where you take, we undoubtedly rock the nation. Waiting I do know, scanning all over the press, social handles, mainstream, including the country, Sierra Leone, the action of yours is packed headline, major newspapers there, social media, of the headlines were very colorful. And I thought, this could not be the young man that I interviewed just days ago regarding this very action. But yes, indeed, it were. If you will take time for fill us up from that day to now, what has transpired? A brief touch, because I can see few people are new today. They've not been there on that day. I can just see about 3 or 4 in the chat room. But just a brief, what do you do, why you do what you do, and since we last talked, where are we?
Thank you very much for bringing a very experienced lawyer on the platform. But before I go to the questions which you don't ask me, I go one firstly for a few clarifications for the people of Sierra Leone.
Yep.
Before I do the clarification, I go one for thank all Sierra Leoneans at home and abroad, the brothers and sisters. And the media and everyone who don't support this cause. And also, I want to thank the most land legal counsel, Lawyer L.M. Iscandri, for gracing the occasion today, and also for attending people's debate for lovely able to make the people of the agenda understand exactly looking at the ramifications of the current status quo. Secondly, I take this action as a Sierra Leonean and as a representative of the diaspora focus group. I not take this action as a barrister or as a solicitor. Rather, I use my journalistic and human rights experience for put them on paper for ensure they are fight for the people of Sierra Leone. I not grab all the documents from all the documents away. Go to the International Criminal Court as a lawyer or as a barrister, but with the understanding and knowledge we get based on the law and to human rights issues. Therefore, one for sort of like, if we could say, everybody could say that a degree of the legal career are more than honored for starting the legal career by defending the fundamental human rights of the people of Sierra Leone. So this being said, I want to be very humble and accept the support for the experienced lawyer when you don't bring up, and also the feedback who they get from the Sierra Leonean population. Now let's go to the question when you don't ask. From that time up to this point, what is the situation? What is the current waiting? I don't do again. Well, everybody knows this. Now the law or any legal issue where you get correspondence, then the documents, the acknowledgement, the way to get document, so your document can have evidence because you know just send out press release and label that evidence. So as I tell you now, before the death, I get over 170 evidence and evidence the one I don't put together, coupled by other and we're very important to that where I'm ready for making most land and legal counsel to move over a team of very prominent private and for put together for 5 for the people of Sierra Leone. So that is said, and one of us at the point for get more questions from me.
Lovely. I think the people heard you loud and clear. Let me turn my attention to we guest, lawyer Dr. Iscandri. Doctor, the thing with the lawyer who just talk just not don't do, of course, it's no secret any longer, like I do the introduction. This nothing particularly will rock the nation. It really rock the nation. And like I say, one of the reasons I since don't acknowledge for bringing you on, now for can't add beef to bone, like I say. So what I want to let you do, sir, if you will, please, is for let me look at in a broader context of this action where this man don't take, the legality around them, the pros and the cons, and the justification of you hear me, sir?
Loud and clear.
Okay, loud and clear. And the justification for the action, it not justify them, but from another legal mind, waiting justify the action where it don't take, the necessity around them, and looking at other case studies them around the same thing, which is about something regarding criminal law and the ICC, the success rate and the chances of this one, of this particular action, where this lawyer don't take.
Thank you very much. So you asked me for a look at the pros and the cons and the justification for the actions of my learned colleague, Mr. Wurie. I can only see the pros of it and not the cons of it. Every Sierra Leonean, whether they live in Sierra Leone or outside of Sierra Leone, has a national duty and a moral duty to call the world's attention to something that is going on in Sierra Leone, which might affect the lives of the people, particularly in situations such as what Mr. Wurie has clearly delineated in the press release. The justification is self-evident because what we don't see now is that they don't begin arrest people them when opposition people them. They don't begin charge people them with certain offenses where when you look at the offenses, they are not supported by the known facts. They arrest Paulo Conte and Worth. They arrest Sylvia Blyden, there have been many unresolved killings in Sierra Leone that are closely related to political activities. I think any Sierra Leonean has a duty under these circumstances to call the attention of the world that there's something going on in our country that our government is unable to fix. We might need the help of the rest of the world. Remember, when we had war, in order for that war to end, we had to have the help of the world. But the problem in Sierra Leone is that we not a land from we past mistakes. Now, let me just summarize. I fully support 100% the attempts of the Diaspora Focus Group to call the world's attention to what's going on in Sierra Leone, to call the world's attention to the level of politically motivated violence, to call the world's attention to the excessive practice of tribalism, to call the world's attention to the numerous politically imposed killings. I think it is time that we as Sierra Leoneans stand up and say, no more, never again shall we kill another to make a political point. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
And neither do, I suppose, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of other people who supposedly are at the other end of this. Before I go back to Lawyer Wurie, this question to you, sir. You know, before the ICC will take responsibility for the action where the Diaspora Focus Group don't take, there has to be some sort of chaos within the very society on whose behalf the action has been taken. One, I want to let you qualify whether, as per your experience, legally speaking, whether we don't reach that threshold day. And secondly, whether, because the government will always try for mitigate actions when they take. In other words, they can easily claim that they are being provoked by the others. We do see it, so not to me they insinuate this, we do see it in social media handles and from even some government officials, that it is the actions of others and they are merely reacting. What do you go say to that, sir?
Are you asking me?
Yes, it's you. Did you get a question?
Please go again.
Okay, so I mean, they say, based on what you just say, of course, I'll go on for say, because you say you support the action taken by the Diaspora Group, yeah, if I can just paraphrase you quickly, and 100%, and possibly if you can go above 100%, you are. But I mean, they say, for let the ICC take action based on the action we, the Diaspora Group don't take, there has to be some kind of anarchy, if you will like, anarchy within the system. We see the rise of political tension, intimidations, and I can't go on for say more because you hit the note on a higher level, so I have to keep it as such. But the question to you is in two folds. It don't reach that level there, we will make the ICC, you know, say indeed, we need for stepping, because they can only step in if the government not able to do anything about waiting to go on extrajudicial arrest or killings, arbitrary arrest, arbitrary detention, political manipulation and intimidations and etc. But that is if there is chaos within. So will the ICC be able to look at it at the level USA Edeso, than one? Secondly, the government supposedly can say they are only reacting, okay, to reactionaries, people the way they provoke them, could be the opposition or others, so they are not really the ones who should be held responsible. They're only the acting in capacity as a government. What thing will be your opinion around that posit, if you like, please?
All right, let me address the first issue, which was whether the government's potential or possible rationale that they were being provoked. That is so kindergarten. It is so kindergarten. It's so below the level of base. Let's put it that way. It just feels like if I say, like a picky way class one we say, 9 4 snack me, then they can knock them back. How much sense does that make? I don't think they will use that, because if they use that, then it tells us that these guys are not thinkers. Let me tell you, when the SLPP was in opposition, they were the most violent, and I was a victim of that. They was the most violent, virulent opposition people you would ever come across. I mean, they were so violent that some of them chose to attack me personally and make claims that were defamatory of my person, my character, and my profession. And I took them to court, and we duked it out. Now, let me tell you, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I have a video where Lawrence Lima says he's calling on the military to have a coup d'etat while the APC was in power. Now, in my legal books, that's a crime of treason or misprision of treason or incitement or any other crime. But he wasn't charged for that under the APC. And the fact that he's free to roam Freetown these days is clear evidence that he wasn't charged for that. He may have been spent a few days in jail, but he was released. So this, now I've been knocked me today, so Mr. Go country I can knock you back. It's very kindergarten. Now, little picking the play game day. Real government, real governance has to have thick skin. You have to have thick skin to properly govern a country. You understand? This government is more focused on the opposition than on achieving their mandate. And they need to refocus, recalculate, and get back on what they're supposed to be doing for the people of Sierra Leone. And I mean all of the people of Sierra Leone, not just necessarily people of one particular tribe, which is what we are seeing today.
Many thanks. And back to the audience, I just want to add this. This is an addendum because it slipped me during the introduction, and I will really let Leona know because this is really critical. If I'm for let we know from who Dr. Lawyer Iscandri is in many portfolios. One of them happened for being the global chairman of the Coalition for Change, C4C. I repeat, he's the global chairman of the Coalition for Change. And we will be having an interview here with one of the Coalition for Change heavyweights as per a regional chairman who happens to be Dr. Tumbe. That will happen on Sunday. He will be right here. But I just want to add this quickly so I will also know that Dr. Iscandri is also the global chairman for the Coalition for Change, C4C for short. Let me go to Lawyer Wurie. Lawyer Wurie, you've already taken an action. We don't rock the nation if you go like. But there has to be a follow-up. I know the last time when you appear on this platform, you talk about you still get names where potentially can add up to the list where you get. But as the evidence become more compelling, then you go add their names than they possibly. And you also try to get that evidence, and you made a national appeal to all Sierra Leoneans, them and good wishers, them anybody will get evidence of some sort of nature, good one, bad one, because una go filter them, let them do forward unto una. So the question here to you, what has been the response to that appeal? And since then, if you don't receive any response, formal, informal, what other actions you go say you don't take without compromising the nature of your case? Because I know somebody may ask that question there, and you answer and say, but the public, the government is public, so the nature of the case is no secret, and it's in behalf of the people of Sierra Leone, although now you represent them with your focus group, and the government of Sierra Leone. So whose kind of gains you don't make so far in terms of your appeal? Has there been a response to your request? And waiting at the situation going forward since the last time when we talk.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, stand by, stand by. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Iscandri, go. I mean, you go on, Wurie.
No, I still can hear him.
Because they've responded when the response is so favorable. I'm really happy for the people of Sierra Leone. I thank them for sending evidence them of very significant magnitude as far as this matter is concerned for the people of Sierra Leone. I can't say I've got 157 entities coupled with other evidence that I will send, which will send me and the team will look at the eventually and try to get the authenticity documents and materials for because it don't set up for an examination as I said last time for compare those and see without on that. So this has that question. With the question we would ask both prison and counsel, Mr. Dr. Iscandri, I just want for people to polish some areas where I think they just ignore what I'm saying. One area that ICT in credentials and the type of answer about how of matters of very significant proportion. So I want to say that credentials is beyond a reasonable doubt. If you get evidence for proof, for sure, such crimes where I don't think very clear that have been committed, where I believe every Sierra Leonean is aware about, I believe this matter there will be of materials of very significant way in terms of looking at it from a legal perspective. And also, I'm the one for short pause on the hello, did you get me? Hello?
Yes, speak up, speak up.
Yeah, so
You are a little bit too far from the mic.
We don't raise the high level of high importance. About publishing to the Sierra Leone Constitution under Chapter 3 of the Sierra Leone Constitution, where they talk about the recognition. So I explain this and in just substantial evidence which is able to put to the test because we persuaded to that means let's say the ICC has written, oh, let us investigate this matter. But like before even put a check to that, before even the ICC will come back to me because they replied to me. But before they will have to come back to me or to my team, who decided to collect all this evidence with them, where we don't get for the next time 157 when our evidence has to ascertain the fact of which we say. So we call on the union therefore send more evidence for punish the legitimacy of the matter. Now let's go to the other question where you asked, which is we didn't talk about the names just as a matter of follow-up with regard to the people that when are persons of interest if this matter is investigated. At this moment, for the sake of because some people maybe don't do bad or sort of like they will start for stop for some of the things that they do. So I'm not one for calling names at this point in time, but I will want to let me compile, conclude, and complete with evidential analysis. Then we will able to publish the full name of the settings of concern as far as this matter is concerned. Because when you look at the other section where I want to talk about before I just conclude to the question, sorry, it's about the protection of right to life. Section 16 of the Constitution. It talks that no person shall be deprived of his life intentionally. Nobody will not protect a right to life by force, except by court order or trespass. What way they don't convict already, for say you don't do this kind of then the law say you for. So with the killing where happened on the 29th of April 2020 regarding the massacre of innocent civilian prisoners at the Pandemba Road prison. That itself is a breach of Section 16 of the national 1991 Constitution. So it's not just about international fundamental human rights where they don't breach or allegedly breach, but they breach the Constitution as well. So no sooner sanity is restored, we come out from the ICC issue. The ICC agrees for investigative matter and definitely we win. We will go again to the Sierra Leone Constitution and Sierra Leonean court and decide to pursue the matter there again. So, I believe that it are complementary jurisdiction. So the matter not will just end. So, because you know why? We don't tire or see the countries, the leaders in Africa, these people at least, they're not able, they're not getting regard for constitution and fundamental human rights. And when you live in the Western world or you live in civilized society, it doesn't have to be the Western world. You see how rulers they treat them, people them. You will really feel, because if you don't respect your people, then they are nothing, they are animals. Because what is the point? The only difference between a human being and an animal is because human beings respect law and order. And they use one book when at the Constitution, when we all equal, be president, finance minister, governor, or whatever, of a foreman, where they are farm, where they work. I think they will all forget the same rights, but there are some rights applicable to some and those that are not applicable to others. Look, for instance, now the recent issue where they go on with the warrant of the search of their blind property. Now, you don't talk with the government says and don't suspend all institutions, right? So if you suspend the court or the judiciary, that's why all of those prisoners or members of the opposition, where they don't arrest, where they're not guided, because the judiciary has been in lockdown owing to COVID-19. But how did they obtain a warrant? And who is supposed to issue out the warrant?
Okay, let me pause you. Let me pause you right there and move to Dr. Iscandri. I just want to take up on an issue, Dr. Iscandri, where Lawyer Wurie bring up, which is the courts are suspended. There is a rule of special ruling dispensation and the president get. And in many respects, the Constitution is suspended. I believe that people are getting basic rights. I want to let you address that because there's some confusion around that. But the lawyer just say that the Constitution is suspended. Courts are not functioning. and he give example. So how then they obtain warrant as at this time for go arrest and search other people in premises? There cannot be a breakdown of law and order. There must be some form of law and order, even in the absence of the Constitution. Can you deal with that, please, Dr. Iscandri?
Well, a state of emergency means that the government suspends certain rights. We have to give them that. But in order for you to declare a state of emergency, it has to be by a certain percentage, majority percentage of the votes in parliament. It is my understanding that when this state of emergency was declared, it didn't go through parliament. And if that is the case, then it's unconstitutional on its face. Then it means basically nobody has to obey that state of emergency because it violates the Constitution.
So let me push back on that a little bit, if I may. Allow me for some interjection.
Yeah.
Yes, you did make a critical point there, but on some technical basis, the president has got the right, that's my understanding, and I stand to be corrected. The president get the right for declare a state of emergency. And in this case, he did declare a state of emergency as entered into government gazette, the country's gazette, on the basis of a national health emergency. So even when he declare them, although parliament need for approval of them, but the moment he make that declaration there, it is valid until parliament disapprove or vote and down. So my understanding is he went to parliament, and even parliamentarians came out and said they were shocked at the 12 months. You hear me, sir?
I'm listening.
Okay. Even though parliament came out, some parliamentarians came out and said they'd be shocked at the 12 months, which surprised many people. But at least they came back out and say, well, they get 3 weeks for comeback, for can't talk about them. But within that 3 weeks, everything just seemed to go down the drain. In other words, this COVID-19, what I call the Chinese virus, was out there, and the suspension and everything else started getting suspended, including parliament. So in that case, they deal with this, subsequently, Dr. Iscandri. Now, reason make I bring this can because now on technicality, these things seem for border on, and this now you don't feel, and we need for understand better. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay. So my understanding is that it has to go to parliament within a specified period of time.
Yeah.
And parliament must meet in an emergency session, even when the country is at war. Parliament has a right and a duty to meet. They may not necessarily meet at the wells of parliament, but they can meet just the way we are meeting right now if the technology is available. Every member of parliament has access to a Zoom account, and that Zoom account is activated. You can do it that way.
Yeah.
Now, but I want to take you back a little bit. And I want to take you back to waiting Mr. Wurie, my learned colleague, say. Mr. Wurie say, when he talk about the Constitution of Sierra Leone and violation of Section 16 of the Sierra Leone Constitution. Now, if you go to the Section 16, Section 16 is Chapter 3 of the Constitution. That the heading of that chapter is the recognition and protection of fundamental human rights and freedoms of the individual. Now, what is a fundamental right? A fundamental right is a right that government sees needs to be highly protected by government action, such as the right to life, such as the right to protection from arbitrary arrest and detention, protection from freedom of movement, protection from slavery and forced labor, protection from inhuman treatment, protection from deprivation of property, protection of privacy of home and other property, provision to secure protection of the law, protection of freedom of conscience, protection of freedom of expression and the press, protection of freedom of assembly and association, protection from discrimination. Now let's go through all these. I just read from chapter 15, subsection 15 to subsection 28 for you. Let's go through all these and see which ones the present government of Sierra Leone has not violated. But before I go to which ones the government has not violated, well, let's go there first. What about the right to life? There have been so many political killings in the last 2 years of this government. The leadership of this government has been silent, and their silence has been deafening. Sabi, when somebody not say nothing, you feel like you're deaf, so you know you're You understand? And I think, let me segue into the one of the questions you asked me before. I think the killing, unlawful killing of one person due to, because of their political affiliation, is one person too many. Salone don't go through war. We don't go through war will not be one of the most difficult things for me to comprehend. We go through war when they cut somebody, and I can't understand what manner of a man or woman would look at a fellow human being and cut or two in hand. I can't understand that thinking. It's a little bit beyond me. But if you go to these subsections where I don't count, where I don't call out, this government has not has violated the protection of right to life by the killings I've just talked about. This government has violated the protection from arbitrary arrest and detention. They can just pick you up. Police say they want to see you. They want to invite you in a station. When they invite you in a station, they want to interrogate you adversely without a lawyer. When they do that, then they lock you up. Then they say that the police get for grant you bail. We need to change the legal system in Sierra Leone. It's not working for the ordinary people, for the people on the ground. The ordinary man will not get money for go big police. Those are the people that we need to change the law for. So police are gonna arrest them without a warrant, can go and detain them, take them away from his family. Protection of freedom of movement. Government get a right to protect freedom of movement. And in a particular case like this where they get COVID-19, and under the present state of public health emergency, government get a right and a duty for contain and curtail the freedom of movement. So agree with what the government say, then get for stop people them for promote the different provinces them and travel interprovincially. That I agree with that. Yeah. I don't get no thing for say that government force people into slavery and forced labor. But protection from inhuman treatment. My dear brothers, if you ever go into Pademba Road prison, the way they treat people the way they jail, it's inhumane. It's inhumane. You go jail as a healthy person, you come out there with all kinds of sick. It's inhumane. Access to health care for people the way they jail is very, very limited. It's very limited. Even the hospital where they're inside the jail, not equipped enough for handle a lot of people getting sick. So in that sense, they have violated it. When I get a report says Sylvia Blyden was a woman was put in jail in a cell with 5 men. If this is true, it is totally inhumane. See, I say, if this is true, if it is true that this happened, it is totally inhumane. It is disrespectful of a womanhood, and it is wrong, and it's a violation of Section 20 of the Constitution, subsection 20 of Chapter 3 of the Constitution. Now let's talk about deprivation of property. That you don't see many, and not of this government no more, many instances of where we government, they take property from salon man, and sell them to foreigner. Pull you, broke yours. I'll give you one quick example. From where small, one salon man they we build us right across from Casino Leone. The last government broke that man, when the man died, now left the house. They broke the house on the Sansan. They broke the house. Now they sell the ground to Chinese, let Chinese put restaurant there. I not think say it right for let Sierra Leonean governments make Sierra Leoneans a second-class citizen in their own country. That is wrong. Now, continue with the idea of deprivation of property. But none of these governments not get enough sense for letting you put together some kind of a policy where that policy will show who that gets this land and this land and this land. In 2020, Sierra Leoneans were own land in their country, not supposed for lost that land there to somebody else who can teach the land. Because somebody then a registrar general's office where no said so that land they belong to somebody else, he take them, he sell them to somebody else. That is violation of deprivation of property. When Vice President go to jail, he explained or somebody else explains it, they don't get a database of all the jail mandate. I think what they need to do, if they can get a database of all the jail mandate, they need to do a better job in a database of everybody that owns land in Sierra Leone and property, so that people don't lose their property based on sheer theft. Section 23. One more thing to me. Yeah. Section 22, excuse me, protection for privacy of home and other property. Let me tell you, have you ever driven from Freetown to upcountry? There are so many places where you stop. And when you stop in these places, they even want to search your car. They even want to search your car with no articulable reason why they want to search your car. Open the trunk for me. This not beginning happening under SLPPO. I can't blame them for that. It's been happening before. But why the government way say power pass along for change not think these thoughts? Sierra Leoneans must be free to travel to anywhere in their country without the fear of being pulled over by the police if they are not breaking the law and subjected to an illegal search and seizure of their property. Now, let's address the issue of provision to secure protection of law. Poor man no get right in salon. And I think this is wrong. I think this is wrong. I have witnessed many situations in Sierra Leone where I have come to the conclusion that what we need to do in Sierra Leone is to change the law so it will benefit who that no get nothing. The law, there is a reason why the law na is scale. The law na is scale so that it will balance. It's not based on how much book you study or how much money you get. It's based on whether you are protected by the law. Freedom of conscience. We don't have that in Sierra Leone. We don't have that in Sierra Leone. You can't speak your mind in Sierra Leone. You'll be arrested. One of the reasons why Sylvia Blyden is arrested is because she speaks her mind and she says what she needs to say. This is wrong. Government not get reason for afraid if they do right. If government they do right, they not get no reason for afraid. You understand? People forget a right for express waiting then at the chest. Because if you all waiting then at the chest, you know, then I will get that right for express now and it pile up, it pile up, it pile up. One day they explode. Freedom of expression and freedom of the press. Freedom of expression and freedom of the press are two of the most important freedoms that people get. There should be no reason why under the last government, APC, under Anescoma, then they arrest people that are members of the press, journalists. Then under this government, they still do that. Any government where they do right now, there's no reason for free press. But from where this government come, they are, if you talk against them, you're not an enemy. Or you're not APC, well, APC is not their favorite target. And that shouldn't be the case. Protection of freedom of assembly and association. And I'm sorry I had to bring these things up as fundamental. As fundamental, guys. The people have a right to assemble. Although that right to assemble may be subject to a state of emergency, a state of public health emergency. When the government can say, well, this COVID-19, that's something where if person sneeze around you, you get down. So we think say for protect the people, we go restrict on our right for gather. You understand? For right now, until this pass. But as soon as it pass, we hope say if it pass before the 1 year state of emergency done, that immediately will be the state of emergency will be rescinded. You understand? Protection from discrimination. Discrimination means when you take somebody over the other because you get a special affinity or special relationship to that person based on something that person did not get any control over. Any of we
okay, Dr. Iscandri, we will come back to that. Okay, please.
Any of we there will choose the tribe where they come, where we born into before we born? None. Therefore, discrimination based on tribe, which other people call tribalism, is illegal according to the Constitution. And this government has committed numerous acts of tribalism and discrimination based on tribe. I guess for right now.
Thank you very much, sir. For those of you who are just joining the platform now, I just want to our attention that we get two very distinguished guests in the studio, and they talk about rise of extrajudicial activities, implying things the way they happen outside of the law. They on the up, and they concern so both sides of the argument, okay? And we in the studio, we met Wurie and Dr. Lawyer L.M, Global Chairman for T4C Politicity. And I asked the 100 who watching the program right now, they asked all 151 for pro and con from writing for comment. So please share this video so that it will multiply. We will get more people for things. So the very important thing what we talk about. Let's go to you, Lawyer Wurie. Lawyer Wurie, you hear me, right? Okay. So this is the by the way. And Lawyer Wurie, if you are there, and I hope you hear me. Okay. Until Lawyer Wurie hear me. I'm not Lawyer Wurie. Let's see whether I'm able to get hold of Lawyer Wurie in handset scheme for the game problem. Lawyer, hello. Okay, I think we're slowly. So I was back a lot. So Dr. Iscandri, we lost on again. interview basically is between and say you flow element, which the opportunity for address a lot. They give me the opportunity for ask very many critical questions. You know the thing when you talk about this law, passion, fulfill emotion inside you because every true person, the desire burn out of the fact that there is no justice. There's talk about people, in which the very many of them make ends meet. But if judicial system function properly, in which there can be this, every Sierra Leonean, you go be covered by the rule of law, by some form of justice, then certainly we will have gone a long way. But then you can't blame one government because you already say them. They all accomplish it in this nature of this thing the way they happen. So waiting you can advise us at this point, need for change, because there is a constitution. There are rules. It's not like we don't get rules-based system or law-based system, but something is fundamentally, something is flawed. So on the basis of your experience, because you have a lot of experience, can you ask that need for fundamentally change? Because we generation our past, they pass out. So the next generation will come and ask if not they around. What did we do? What Lawyer Iscandri with all the entire way it to do for change this hopeless, this reckless, this worthless situation?
One of the problems that we'll get in Sierra Leone is that we not get a robust group of civil rights lawyers in Sierra Leone, nor do we have judges that can, many of whom...
You lost you, you're lost. Yeah, go on, sir, sorry, I just did talk to...
Many of whom are in the pockets of politicians. What we need in Sierra Leone is a robust jurisprudence, because all the rights I don't take about so. This government don't violate them. A violation of these fundamental rights should immediately take you not necessarily to the High Court, but straight to the Supreme Court, because they are fundamental rights. You asked a question earlier about extrajudicial actions. Extrajudicial actions. You see, this government has taken many extrajudicial actions against people. Let me tell you, this is, I think we have the brother back, but let me finish this talk.
Yeah, sure, sir.
I think this government must be taken to task. We need to ask questions like, how many Sierra Leoneans were executed that day at Pademba Road?
Let me push back on that quickly before I yield the floor back to you, because we can see where you're head. And key on what you say is we need for take the government to task. Okay?
That's correct.
Yeah, David, stay on the line for me 1 minute, please. We need for take the government to task. Taking the government to task, the question is how, because part of this discussion here tonight is based on extrajudicious activity, the rise of violence. And one of you gripe on this platform, this net, is the pushback on the people, because as the people try to take action, they're being branded left, right, and center as the other. In this situation, Doctor, what you try to say, how do the people push back under these present circumstances?
Perfect. A very great question,
David.
We push back by using.
I just need to get your audio on. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for monitoring. Okay.
We need to use the legal system. We in the diaspora and some in country in situ should also use our pens and access to international agencies like we really complain. Saying that this day happen. One for let you know. You know, once was a war in a country called Rwanda. And it started off with one neighbor chapped the other neighbor because one neighbor and Hutu, the other one are Tutsi. You understand? And started that simply. And it ended up in bodies going down the Victoria Falls, bodies of Africans going down the Victoria Falls.
Yeah.
Our Sierra Leone war didn't start off like that, but it almost ended like that. There was a time when the Kamajors came to Freetown. They killed almost everybody that didn't speak Mende. We know that. I worked at the special court. We know that. Now see, we should take the government to task by using the legal system, but the legal system doesn't work very well for us if it's in Sierra Leone. So we should take it to ECOWAS. If that doesn't work for us, we should take it to the ICC, or we should do it all simultaneously and contemporaneously. Open these cases. Because at some point in time, we need in Sierra Leone a leadership, particularly in the area of the Ministry of Justice, a leader who does not just sing, but comes in and does the work of a lawyer.
Yeah.
Now, going to what happened at Pademba Road,
Yeah.
if I bother every Sierra Leonean that almost 1 week after this incident, the president and leader of Sierra Leone not even come on television yet and address the issue to the people of what happened and how it happened. It means that his government lacks coordination, because any good leader by now would have said, who was there? You, and you, I need a report in my desk tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
We should be meeting tomorrow morning so I can find out what I will tell my people. What I tell my people. You understand? Up till now, this man not tell me.
Yeah.
Here's what happened.
Yeah.
There was a plan to go in and wipe out the political prisoners in Sierra Leone. That was the plan. The plan was to go in and kill Paulo Conte, Mr. Darami, Abu Darami, Judge Abbott Williams, and the other people that were there.
Hang on, right? That's quite a bombshell, Dr. Iscandri. And lots of people are going to be asking, but where is the evidence? Even if it's circumstantial, where is it? So I wanted to move on to the next guest, but let me pause you there for thoughts. Let me move to the next guest while you collect your bearings, because that was quite a bombshell, and some people will be adjusting themselves in their seats. So hang on that thought there, because we're coming right back to that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing it for yourself. This is no fiction of imagination, it's real. So there was a plot to eliminate key provisional figures, potentially high profile figures at the Pademba Road prison. But I've just asked Dr. Iscandri to hold the thought right there while I go back to our other guest. Now, Lawyer Wurie, can you hear me? Okay, hang on right there. So, Lawyer Wurie can hear me loud and clear.
Absolutely.
So, here's the point, Lawyer Wurie, okay?
Yeah.
You see, whenever I talk to you, I want to talk to you within the context of the powerful document that you submitted to the ICC. But I need to shift gears a little bit. Yeah, let's test, here's some other waters within law or the topic for this particular show, which is extrajudicious, and you're a legal-minded person. You've listened to your other learned colleague deliberate on many, many issues. One of the key things they address, and you see, this is when you understand people the way they speak from the heart, which is about the Constitution. And one of the things where you say motivate you for take action we take. Now, as a young man with all your future in front of you, a family, and the rest of it that you get for grow and will let for go back to a salon where you go practice what you preach. How you think say we can bring about this kind of change? Dr. Iscandri did mention one or two key things.
which is despite the difficult situation, we will continue for persevere. Do you see any other way how we can go around this thing for bring about an everlasting solution to the many problems where they plague the country, be it political, economic, social, because these are all key factors, but they all fall under one remit. How do the people of Sierra Leone go enjoy a nation with dignity, law, and order?
Yes, so with regards to your question, the first lasting solution to all the problems now for let justice be able to prevail. The ICC, that is the National Criminal Court, the affirmation or waiting Creoman to say waiting them team up for. Now, for ensure the most serious crimes of concern, so the international community as a whole for never go unpunished. So it will be done to get some of them based on the analysis where the most land experienced and lawyer don't talk to the people of Sierra Leone. I mean, they don't highlight a lot of issues where these are breach of human rights, you know, and as a result of that, these are issues that way people are not for just team up and left them so. Now, issues the way somebody for able to team up for ensure the justice they not alone. Maybe this not going to be the lasting solution. We're not going to take and say this will be, you know, but it will go a long way for ensuring we checkmate politicians and powerful people in our society where they treat the poor people bad, you know. So why make us also? People that will begin to ask me the question, say, why make Mr. Wurie did an analysis there? Now, the fact that, let me just look, this is simple. Under section 17 of the Constitution, you know why make this analysis? I decided to sometimes make him refer out to the Constitution because this is what binds us all together.
Absolutely.
And this is what, you know, so anything what they do, even if I want to take advantage of it, I go look the Constitution for the I will go against Mr. Presenter a right, or I will go against me, Mama, or my sister a right. You know, you for able get this, you know, this complaint. But the poor and illiterate people in Sierra Leone, I believe say I forgive them 100% good because they will never be like this. They will never go and arrest somebody without providing a ground analysis. Now, within section 17 say of the Constitution, section 17, subsection 1 says, no person shall be deprived of his personal liberty except as may be authorized by law and in the following cases. But anyway, that is not the function. Now, we'll go to subsection 2. They say, any person who is arrested or detained shall be informed in writing or in a language that he understands at the time of his arrest, and in any event, not later than 24 hours of the past as grounds for the arrest or detention. Did this happen in the case of DR.Alieu?
And the answer is a no. And I really appreciate the fact that, you see, to the audience, I come back to you. Hold your thoughts right there. Just hold your thoughts right there. Let me make an appeal to the audience, because it's the same thing you've been trying for do. So the audience, just for add to that, you see, everything where we talk now, not to ask passions with the cast, not to hear say and they say. We are talking about factual things, and based on the Constitution of the Republic, under which we all stand, we cover we all. And as you read the learned people that were not the guests here tonight, everything where they say, and they make reference to the Constitution. It can't be powerful more than that, isn't it? Go on, Lawyer Wurie.
Thank you very much for making sure that you clarify the situation to the Sierra Leonean population. So, however, as I did say, presently, I believe the waiting the government, they do the action of the government, they put Sierra Leoneans in a very funny position because at this point, the government is being run not by other donors or whatever. Yes, that those are even uncertain, but by the taxpayers' money, where me, mama, me sister, me auntie, me brother, and all those friends in the ghetto, the youth in the ghetto, and market women, then now the market for you tap them, we not even know where they happen around. They just busy for building community. They are being taxed to pay, and why not I emphasize this? Therefore, go to the consolidated fund. It's because the constitution makes it clear. It says anybody when they arrest and then just keep on so normal or lawfully is subject to be compensated, and therefore compensate doctors if they apply them. That I will tell you if we go by the books of the law. So you find them therefore put them on it for compensation if they apply them for procedural errors, which amounts to a fatal flaw in terms of the procedure of arrest, because in arresting the constitution says you may provide a reason and the ground.
Yeah, well, let me left down there for another day in terms of the compensation until when we can. They good for where you weigh on a small, but then we just focus on the arrest, the unconstitutional arrest of a journalist and somebody where apparently now because of his views, because they haven't lost anything. Before coming to the studio, somebody called me for say she's been formally charged. I've not been able to verify that as at yet. But 24 hours after, waiting the Constitution provide for, under the same human rights that we talk about, you entitlement as a citizen of the Republic, that has not been accorded to a woman who is very powerful by every stretch of the language, who has served the country by many, many respects. Love her, loathe her, she is a powerful woman. And sometimes you probably see the one silent, here like powerful voices. But we'll see to that. We don't lost Lawyer Wurie again briefly. So let me go to Dr. Iscandri. I've been asking for let you hold your thoughts this, sir. Dr. Iscandri, you mic there on mute. Your microphone there on mute. Your micro. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I've been asking for let you hold your thoughts right there because you hit one big bombshell. I call it the big bomb of the evening. So I would like for you expand on that. Give we the Sierra Leonean people and we foreign friends there where they watch. Instead of waiting you make the whole Pademba Road issue was like a red flag operation. The floor is yours, sir.
You see, when we lawyers assess facts,
good,
we either use direct facts or direct evidence or circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
Circumstantial evidence has to be cumulative in nature, but there has to be some sort of a logical thread between the facts and the evidence and the conclusion. At 3 o'clock in the morning, and this was something reported by one Miss Fatmata Sawane, who happens to be the women's chairlady of the SLPP National Party, was at the prison. At 4 o'clock, Lawrence Lima coming to the prison, and he brought drinks to the prison.
Ooh.
Obviously in a celebratory mood. At 4:30, somebody else came. There is the video that's going around. At 7 o'clock, the fire broke out. You understand?
Yes, sir, they follow.
That's at least 4 hours after Miss Sawane had gone there. Now, at the time Miss Sawane was there, she was neither a prisoner, nor was she an employee of the prisons department, nor was she a government employee, because I take it that being a chair lady of a national party doesn't make you a part of the government.
Yep.
So they were there. The fire started at 7 o'clock in the morning. I listened very closely to her audio. And it is clear from me, when the fire started and the commotion started, what they wanted to do was to go in there thinking that Paulo and the high-priced political prisoners that they have there would try to escape. And so the death brigade, the death squad came from State House.
Wow.
The purpose of that death squad was to take them out as a result of that. They came in with guns blazing. And up till this day, and up till this moment, the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone, my country, has not thought it fit to address the people of his nation and say, this is what happened. At least even from his own perspective. It may not necessarily be the truth, but the people of Sierra Leone that elected this man deserve to hear from him the question of what happened to we brother them and sister them when they shoot Nadil. Almost of them then shoot. There should be a blue ribbon commission appointed immediately, not on political lines, but more so on national lines, that will question and investigate why this happened. The people that were killed in a prison, una don't think say they get family members? People that have been depend on them. How many of them were serving a term of imprisonment? How many of them were there, just there, held without bail on simple offenses because we have a government that does not, and a judiciary that does not respect the rights to bail? You understand? How many of those people were killed that day? We don't know. The plan was to execute the prisoners that were attempting to escape. And that plan backfired. Because after Paulo Conte and others were housed at Clarkson House, what basically happened was that the government built a second gate. You understand? A second gate with welded, so that if you get for commodity and then two gates they will pass for commodity. Then now all of a sudden, all of these things are happening with all these government officials there. Then in comes the military and they start shooting. My friend, when you have a gun, a government give you a gun, not for just indiscriminately shoot. Each and every one of those people who died that day could have been arrested and charged with prison mutiny.
Yeah.
And a life would have been saved. That's not the case.
Dr. Iscandri, this is quite interesting. And like I said, many people go, be really unsettled in a chair. But you make quite a good case. And from a lawyer's perspective, and this is what is sort of kind of convincing, because you talk about, yes, we don't have hard evidence because we were not there, but we see the circumstances and you talk about being cumulative. So are we looking back at trends and try to track that to the current for arrive at at some kind of justification? That one of the things, of most recent is the SLPP chair lady, a very powerful woman, but she's an ordinary citizen in many respects. They talk about government, was out in the street 3 o'clock in the morning.
During
when coffee, yes, sir, exactly, yes, sir. So that alone, raises eyebrows. What were you doing there? Even before the others, and she carefully laid out the plan. Almost something, worst part about it, and the worst part about it, I give you the floor so you can expand. Months later, I had to walk back on another, which was more incriminating than the other one, because this time it's in denial of waiting is a transpire. Forgetting to know that you say this not only voice, now doctor now na doctor the tape, and they started promoting that line, but that did not wash. So this is really interesting, the take. Added to that, you be want to say, and furthermore, expand on this theory and convince with people then, the doubting Thomases I will call them, on why make them for believe, furthermore, which you say, because you already don't create a strong picture. Just widen the scope for me, please.
Okay. I want you to add to that, that present in that prison before the prison riot started was a man called Lawyer L.M. He's the Deputy Minister of the Internal Affairs. That's a great position to be.
Yeah.
But this very same man has a reputation within the community for violence, within the community for threatening violence, within the community for a lot of things that puts or has placed the Sierra Leonean community in apprehension for their lives when he's around or when he goes operational. I think that you don't need a rocket scientist to put these things together, my friend. Ask the question. Waiting, Lima, they do not the jail. The deputy minister, waiting, they do not jail 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the morning. Waiting, the women's leader, they do not the jail. Okay, Lima as deputy minister, he get right for travel anywhere during curfew. No problem about that. The deputy minister, the women's leader, a citizen just like me and you and any other person. You know, they work for jail. Somebody needs to ask this question to the government. What even they do at 3 o'clock in the morning na jail? What even they do there? Let me tell you what. They were there waiting for the celebration. Let me tell you something about history. When John Bangura was executed, I was a child then, very small, young. If you Brigadier John Bangura, I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
There was an APC stalwart called Nancy